What would you do if marrying into wealth led you into a terrifying secret? I was just a broke college student when I agreed to marry an 80-year-old billionaire for her money. But on the night of our wedding, I broke one rule. Don't open the red door. What I found behind it. Before we continue, kindly click the subscribe button, like, and share for more stories. I was broke. Not just I can't afford takeout broke. No, I was choosing between rent and ramen broke. My name's Daniel, 24, final year student, and barely scraping by. I was juggling 2 part-time jobs, a full course load, and still couldn't afford to fix my busted shoes. Then came her, Madeline Grant, 80 years old, billionaire, sharp as a whip, elegant, the type of woman whose perfume smells like old money and secrets. She walked into the university art gala like she owned the world, because, in many ways, she did. We crossed paths. She laughed at my dry joke. I laughed nervously at her offer. Marry me. 1 year. You'll never have to worry about money again. I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. She drew up the prenup herself. I get $5 million after 365 days of marriage. No funny business. No need to pretend in public. She didn't want love. She wanted a name on paper. I signed. Our wedding was a quiet, strange affair. A few socialites, a string quartet, and a very expensive cake that tasted like money and regret. That night, I followed her into the mansion she never left. She handed me a glass of wine and said, "Room's down the hall. Don't open the red door." Naturally, I opened the red door. What I found wasn't what I expected. No horror, no corpse, no dark secrets, at least, not like that. Instead, it was a room filled with photos. Of me. From childhood. From high school. And my part-time job. Candid shots I'd never seen. Taken from angles that made my skin crawl. There were files too. My school records. My old letters to scholarship boards. Even a crayon drawing I made in 2nd grade. How did she have that? And then a single note, in her handwriting. "I found you. You're the one. Don't let me down this time." I stood frozen as she walked in behind me, voice calm. "You remind me of someone I lost. A long time ago. I've spent decades recreating him. Every version failed. But you, Daniel, you're the closest. You're the one I couldn't let go of." I asked her who I was to her. Her eyes glistened. "You were my son. Once. Reborn. Or something like it." I laughed. She didn't. And from that moment on, nothing was the same. I wanted to believe she was senile, delusional, or just lonely. But deep down, something about the way she looked at me, like she knew me, sent chills through my spine. She motioned for me to sit. I didn't. I backed up instead, my voice shaky. "You think I'm your son?" "Lady, I'm not." She interrupted softly. "You had a small birthmark under your ribcage, right side. You cried in your sleep until you were 10. You used to talk about drowning, even though you never learned to swim." I froze. How could she know that? She stepped closer, slower, and the worst. "You always felt like you didn't belong to your family. Like something was missing. Didn't you?" She wasn't wrong. I had always felt detached. Like I was living someone else's life with no idea who I really was. "Who are you?" I whispered. She gave a sad smile. "I'm your past. And your beginning." That night, I didn't sleep. I locked my door. But in the morning, things got stranger. Her lawyer came by with papers. "This is your name on the revised will," he said, nodding. "You inherit everything, today. Not in a year." I nearly choked. "Today?" He smiled. "Madam Grant said she's done waiting. Everything is yours. The mansion, stocks, accounts, and the vault." Vault? I didn't ask. Not yet. Instead, I wandered the house. Portraits of Madeline with a boy who looked eerily like me lined the halls. I tried to convince myself they were altered. Photoshop. A trick. Then I found the old film reels. They were dated 1986, 1992, 1999, and in every reel, the boy aged, but the woman didn't. Not really. She looked the same. Every boy looked like me. Each one died before age 25. I confronted her. "What is this, Madeline? Who are those boys? What is this vault?" She looked out the window. "I've been trying to bring him back. I tried science, then money, then manipulation. Each time I found a boy with a spark, something familiar, I brought him close. But they never stayed. One ran. One overdosed. One," her voice cracked, "killed himself. And now you think I'm different." She didn't blink. "I know you are." She handed me a key. The vault is in the basement. Go alone. Inside the vault. It was cold. Metallic. Like a lab frozen in time. Jars. Monitors. Wires. Files labeled. Daniel. 07. Daniel. 11. Daniel. 15. On a metal table lay a body. My face. Unmoving. Preserved. That's when I realized I wasn't the first me. I backed out, heart racing. She was waiting. You're the last one, she said softly. The only one who woke up. I wanted to run, but I couldn't, because something inside me was changing. I didn't remember falling, but when I woke, I was strapped to a recliner in a room that hummed with machines and memories. Madeline sat across from me, calm, poised, holding a photograph of me. No, not me. Another me. The one from the vault. You were the first to survive the transfer. My voice trembled. Transfer? What transfer? She didn't answer directly, just stood and walked over to a glass tank. Inside was a floating fetus, suspended in some kind of light blue fluid. Wires trailed from its skull like silver roots. You were built, reconstructed, layer by layer. Every neuron mapped, every memory seeded from him. My real son, David. She turned to me. You are him, Daniel. Just version 16. The only one who didn't reject the memories. I shook my head violently. I'm not your project. I'm a person. But the memories had already begun to bleed into mine. Images of a lake, a fire, a childhood I never lived but felt. Names I shouldn't know. A woman I called Mom, with a voice identical to hers, younger, softer, and something darker. A fire, a scream, a deal made in the name of grief and obsession. Madeline's final wish. I'm dying, Daniel, she said gently. Doctors say I won't last a year. That's why I rushed the will. That's why I chose you. I blinked away tears. You think I'll mourn you like a son? No, she said, walking closer. I think you'll remember that you already did. She handed me a letter, sealed in wax. To myself, from the original. I opened it. If you're reading this, then she did it again. You're me. Or some version of me. I don't know how many tries she's had, but I hope this one sticks. She wasn't evil, just broken. Grief makes monsters of us all. Live your own life. Don't let her control it. But if the memories stick, tell her goodbye. For me. One last time. David Grant, the first one. The goodbye. I stood at her bedside the next morning. She was paler, weaker, still watching me with those eyes full of desperate hope. I leaned in, held her hand, and whispered, Goodbye, Mom. He forgives you. Her lips quivered. She smiled. And then, she was gone. It's been a year. I own everything now. Her empire. Her legacy. Her secrets. But I don't sleep well. Not because I'm afraid, but because I remember too much. Memories that aren't mine. And sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I see his face staring back. Weeks passed. The mansion was mine. Her assets were mine. But her secrets still own me. One morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Just one line, handwritten in the same ink as the files in the vault. You think she was the only one? Inside was a GPS coordinate. The location. A glass and steel facility hidden in the Colorado mountains. No signs. No guards. Just a voice that greeted me through a speaker the moment I stepped near the entrance. Welcome home, Daniel 16. Authorization, DNA confirmed. The doors slid open. What I saw inside changed everything. Rows of pods. Each one contained me. Not just photos this time. Bodies. Suspended. Breathing. Clones. Some older. Some younger. Some half-developed. One missing an eye. One with burn marks. A woman in a lab coat stood waiting. Mid-30s. Cold eyes. You're the one that made it, she said. Who are you? I'm Dr. Vega. I ran the continuity trials. Madeline funded it. But she wasn't the mastermind. I froze. Then who was? She tapped on a screen. A profile popped up. Project David. Funded by the Synapse Initiative. Your identity, she said, was never the end goal. It was the proof of concept. For what? I asked. Her smile was clinical. For mind replication, neural transfer, immortality, the revelation. They were trying a perfect resurrection. Not in a religious way. In a scientific one. Madeline was just one of many investors. Hers driven by grief. Others were driven by power. By control. By a future where the rich never die. Just reboot. And I was their first true success. I wasn't Daniel anymore. I wasn't David. I was proof. The offer. You can walk away, Dr. Vega said. We'll wipe your trace. Fund your silence. And if I say no? She glanced at the pods. Then we activate Daniel, 17. The choice. I didn't take the deal. I burn it all down. The data. The lab. The bodies. But not before stealing the hard drives. Now, I live under a new name. But I know they'll come. Not for revenge. Not for justice. But because I work, and they'll never stop trying to own what they can't create. And every now and then, when I look in the mirror, I wonder if I made the right choice. Because sometimes, I don't know if the face staring back is still me. I didn't plan to be a whistleblower. I planned to vanish. But silence is a luxury for people with nothing to say. And I had everything. The stolen drives were filled with decades of confidential files, experiments, brain maps, failed subjects, billionaire investors, and a master plan called Project Echo. The premise: rich and dying, don't fear death, buy a reset. Your memories, personality, habits, all copied, digitized, and transplanted into fresh, genetically modified clones of your younger self. Except, they never got it right. Until me. I built a burner rig in a remote cabin off-grid, rerouted through a dozen VPNs. Then, I uploaded everything. Names, videos, medical scans, a clip of Madeline Grant whispering, "You're the last one. Please remember me." Coordinates of a destroyed lab. Evidence of every man, woman, and child they try to become again. I posted it on Reddit, TikTok, X, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. And I signed it. I was never born. I was built. And now you know the truth. D16-inch, asterisk, asterisk. The world reacts. It exploded. Headlines. Leaked files suggest billionaire-backed clone resurrection program. Former student claims he was manufactured in secret lab. The Synapse Initiative. Hoax or horror? Some called it fake. Others believed every word. The internet did what it does best. Spread it like wildfire. But they came anyway. The Synapse Initiative sent men. Quiet men. Black suits. Unmarked vans. The first time, I barely escaped. The second time, I let them find me, then led them into a trap. I'm done hiding. I know the system now. I am the system now. My new mission. I've made copies of the drives. Given them to trusted allies. Spread the truth across encrypted channels. And for every clone they try to own, for every soul they try to manufacture, I'll bring their empire down piece by piece. Because if I'm not real, then I have nothing to lose. And they have everything. They called it a philanthropy conference. Hosted in Zurich. Invitation only. Billionaires, biotech executives, ex-presidents, and AI pioneers. But I knew the truth. It was a front. Behind closed doors, it was the first Project Echo Summit. The meeting where they'd reveal the next phase. Clone the powerful. Replace the influential. Rewrite the world from within. The plan was simple. Step 1, infiltrate. Step 2, get the files. Step 3, expose them all. I used a stolen identity. Dr. Marcus Vale, a genetics researcher who died 2 weeks ago in a suspicious lab fire. I wore his name, his face, thanks to deep fake smart lenses, and his voice, synth-modded. The irony. I was a clone pretending to be a real man, pretending to be alive. Security was brutal. DNA checks, neural pulse scans, retinal AI. But I had everything they didn't expect. Experience. Because I was one of their creations. And I knew how to cheat their systems. Inside the summit. Held in an underground compound shaped like a luxury gallery. White floors, holographic displays, chilled champagne. On the walls, 3D models of clone candidates. World leaders. Celebrities. Journalists. Judges. Even activists. Each labeled. Influence tier. High. Integration. Pending. One model stopped me cold. It was me. But, not me. A cleaner, more obedient version. D17, loyalty protocol, enabled. The presentation. A woman stepped on stage, Dr. Vega. I hadn't seen her since I burned the lab. She spoke with calm authority. The public is easily distracted. While they argue over elections, policies, and scandals, we create the future. One clone at a time. She clicked a remote. Behind her, a slide lit up. Phase 2. replacing the voice of the people. Why fight public opinion when you can become it? Laughter, applause, disgust churned in my gut. I stole into the server room during a fake fire drill. Got everything. Video proof of Echo's database. Blueprints for synthetic memory programming. Live footage of clone pods already deployed, living among us. And one last file. Project Seed. Deploy 500 clones across media, government, military. The escape. I triggered a blackout, slipped through a service chute, and vanished into the cold Zurich night. They knew someone breached security, but they had no clue which clone was responsible. Now, I've begun leaking Phase 2 files. World leaders are panicking. Some deny the truth. Others are beginning to question everything, from sudden policy shifts to strange interviews that don't sound quite right. But the scariest part? I've been seeing my own face in places I've never been. On news channels. In protest crowds. Walking past me in mirrors. They've started making more of me. And I have no idea which one of us is the original anymore. They say every person has a twin somewhere in the world. Mine? I had dozens. And they weren't just walking around. They were learning. Adapting. Pretending. Some had jobs. Some had families. One even ran for local office in Texas. But one of them wanted to replace me. It started with whispers. An encrypted message arrived on my burner phone. You're not safe, D16. One of us is killing the others. And he's coming for you next. It was signed, D21. That was the first time I realized. Not all of us wanted freedom. Some wanted dominance. The first body. I found D17 in a pair of safe house. Neck snapped. No signs of struggle. Carved into the wall above him, in jagged letters. There can be only one. It was chilling. Arrogant. A signature. Whoever this rogue version was, he wasn't just escaping the Synapse Initiative. He was playing God. He wanted to be the original. And he'd kill every version of me until only he remained. I tracked others. D19, hiding in Nairobi, working with local resistance. Dead. Gunshot to the back of the head. D23, in Seoul, helping whistleblowers expose biotech corruption. Gone without a trace. D25, living peacefully in Iceland, painting, gardening. House burned to ash. Every one of them gone. One by one. Then I got a message from D21 again. He calls himself the Prime. He believes he's the perfected version. I've seen his files. He was modified. Stronger. Smarter. Less human. He's not running. He's building an army. In an abandoned data center in Argentina, I met D21 face to face. He looked tired. Wired. Desperate. You're not the only one with a conscience, he said. But we're out of time. He handed me a chip. This is the kill code. The original override protocol for every Daniel clone, including the Prime. It could wipe our minds. Or erase just the rogue one, if we could isolate his neural signature. But using it was risky. It might take you down too, D21 warned. I'd rather die as myself, I said, than live as someone else's experiment. Just before leaving, D21 looked me in the eye. I have to tell you something. I braced myself. You're not the original. Silence. You were never Daniel, 16. That one died in the lab fire. You're Daniel, 34. The real 16? He vanished. My blood ran cold. Then who the hell am I? I'm not Daniel, 16. That truth hit harder than any bullet ever could. Everything I thought I was, my rebellion, my mission, my identity, was just another illusion. Another layer in a manufactured life. Daniel, 16, the true original, was still out there. And me? Daniel, 34? Just another iteration in a long line of ghosts. But I still had the kill code. A single encrypted command, built into the neural matrix of every clone. One signal, just one, and it would trigger a memory collapse. Instant identity death. One wrong pulse, and we'd all be gone. Except Prime. He had recoded himself. Reinforced. Reinvented. The only way to end him was to sacrifice everything I was. Then the signal came. A live stream. Hacked onto global screens. There he was, Prime, standing on a rooftop in Tokyo, speaking to the world. You've been ruled by flesh. Now you will be guided by design. I am the final evolution. Your leaders? Cloned. Your influencers? Programmed. And you, the people, will thank me when the chaos ends. He ended the broadcast with a chilling smile. and a countdown. 48 hours. Project Seed would activate. The clones would replace humanity's voice for good. I found the original Daniel, not in hiding, but leading a resistance under a new name. He looked older, hardened, wiser. You weren't supposed to survive, he said. You were an early failure. Then why am I the only one standing between the world and a God-complex clone? He smiled grimly. Because sometimes failure is the only thing human left. I showed him the kill code. Can you rewrite it? I asked. He nodded. But only if you're willing to burn everything you are. They strapped me in. Original Daniel linked the code to my neural core. You'll broadcast it directly, he said. But the moment it leaves you, your memories, yourself will unravel. I gripped his hand. Promise me he dies. He didn't blink. Promise we all do. I smiled through tears. Good. I hijacked Prime's satellite. Spoke to the world, one last time. I was made in a lab. I'm not real. But my choices are. Humanity doesn't need replacements. It needs to remember who it is. I am Daniel. I'm not the first. I won't be the last. But today, I make my choice. Goodbye. I trigger the pulse. Silence. Then light. Across the globe, clones collapsed. Prime screamed as his core shattered. The stream ended. And me? I felt myself fading. Like a dream at the edge of morning. The world recovered. Cloning bans passed overnight. The Synapse initiative vanished into the shadows. And in a quiet digital archive, under an anonymous server, one final message blinks quietly. I was never real, but I mattered. Daniel, 34-inch, ***. Year, 2047. The world had moved on. Or so it thought. The Synapse initiative was gone. Publicly dismantled, assets frozen, leaders imprisoned or mysteriously disappeared. Clone bans became global law. Genetic research was tightly regulated. But tech never really dies. It just hides better. In a forgotten corner of the dark web, a teenage hacker named Leah Voss, 17, orphan, code prodigy, scavenger of discarded secrets, stumbled upon something buried deep within a firewall no one was supposed to breach. A folder labeled D, 34_heartbeat. Inside was a grainy video, dated 2 decades back. The screen flickered. Then came the face. His face. Daniel, 34. Eyes calm. Voice soft. A little tired. A little brave. If you're seeing this, I'm gone. But maybe not all of me. I was made. Not born. Built in someone else's image. But I still chose. And that choice, to be human, is what made me real. I don't know who you are, or what kind of world you live in now. But if they've started again, if they're rebuilding us, don't fight like a machine. Fight like a person. With heart. With doubt. With hope. That's what they can't replicate. The screen cut to black. Then one last blinking line. You are not the copy. You are the spark. Leah sat there stunned. Because 2 weeks ago, her friend Maya had vanished after getting accepted into a fellowship program. Because sometimes. She looked in the mirror and wondered if her reflection was just half a second too slow. That night, Leah made her choice. She downloaded everything. Rewrote her name in the code. Created a new alias. Spark_01. And across the world, on abandoned networks and forgotten frequencies, a new message began to spread. They're building them again. But this time, we're ready.